Thank you very kind. Thank you very much. A lot of things to give. A lot of things to give on such a beautiful commemoration of what we're trying to do here. Community, community, community. I love those last few letters too about unity in the community. Before I go much further and thank Paul for that kind introduction, I want to thank the Magnuson Park Advisory Committee during the planning process. Quite frankly, these kinds of projects, they don't just happen organically. They happen because you love your city and you love your community and you fight for it. I want to recognize Senator Valdez being here. I know him as Javier for the work you've done, and former Senator Frock for doing what you've done. This is a culmination of several events, as you well know. The state stepped up, and the Department of Commerce put in, I think, over $1 million, 1.2 million, if my 1.95 million. I'm shortchanged. I'm sorry, almost $2 million. You know, this is a $4.5 million project, and so our state certainly stepped up, and we had REAP funds, and I'll introduce Councilmember Peterson in a minute when I say a few words. I do recall when I was running for office, actually, he took me in his car, and we drove around here, and he took me right around these roads, and I told this story about, well, you know, old people like me remember when this was Sandpoint Naval Air Station, and it was a different time. And if you look back when these lands first became commissioned, that was going back in the 1920s, and so we've saw since the 1920s all the way to this day in 2023 what we've built together as a community. So we should be very proud. I hope this isn't supposed to be a surprise back there. Big scissors. Now we know that access to recreational opportunities and gathering spaces like this are vital, quite frankly, to healthy, thriving neighborhoods. When I took office, I talked about One Seattle, and I talked about that people in Seattle, you have an absolute right, an unconditional right, an unfettered right to have a community, have parks, to have a healthy style of life, to be safe, to feel safe. That I, as a young kid born and raised in Seattle, I grew up in the park system. I played ball at parks. I was mentored and tutored at parks. And so we've gotten through some very tough times together, health times, violent times, and we continue to struggle as a country. But are these kinds of projects that continue to give us hope, continue to give us faith in each other. And so they are worthy of celebrating because I think it's bringing out the best in all of us. And again, it didn't just happen by one person, it was truly a community effort. These spaces are equity drivers. And what I mean simply by that is, you know, we have people of different incomes levels living here, people with different racial demographics, people with different religions, people who speak, and yes, young people as well, and old farts like myself. These are equity drivers where we try to bring everyone together to have a simple conversation how to improve and self-optimize our lives. That's why I get so excited about this. This new Magnuson Community Center will include space dedicated to our youth and teens, giving them safe places to learn, grow, play, and thrive. And I emphasize the word safe. I literally just communicated with the mayor of Baltimore earlier today about some shootings that they had there, and I look what's happening in this country and indeed what happens here in the streets of Seattle. And I just remind you, I understand my charter responsibility to keep people safe, and these become safe havens, a place where young people could feel safe and feel heard. So again, I want to thank the Magnuson Park Advisory Committee for their work on this project, and to the Sandpoint community for their support. I want to thank the King County, the county stepping up along with the state of Washington for their financial support to make this renovation possible. And of course, I want to thank the City Council for their role as the Park District's board. Again, we look throughout the city, we look at where we need to make our investments. Indeed, because of all of the great beauty around here, the diversity, the good people, people who again just want a certain quality of life here in Seattle. I don't think that's asking for too much. See, that's music to my ears when I see a child in our park. That is music to a mayor's ears. I don't think that's asking for much for people who want a good quality of life and feel safe and healthy. This is a beautiful project, culmination of the state government working together with our partners, and what a day worthy of celebration. So for that, I'll hand it over to Councilmember Alex Peterson, who is a strong advocate for our public spaces and this community, and he'd like to share some of your words. Councilmember Peterson.